Hi everybody, it's Chris here from the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. Just to let you know, as always, this podcast is now part of the 90-Minute Football Network and proudly sponsored by www.pt-4-u.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel for your post-match patter. This could be the first post-match patter in a cup game. Same outcome. So, Mark, me and you were both there yesterday at St. James Park. Both were decided to take with children.
Yeah, it was Gallowgate Dads yesterday.
Gallowgate Dads yesterday. So, me, you, Roger, decided to take the offspring, the future of Newcastle United, the future of Gallowgateshots. And what a match it was for them, mate.
I think we're showing them the Newcastle of past rather than the Newcastle of the future yesterday.
We're just showing them what it was, what it's currently like. But hopefully you won't see much of this one, lads and lasses. Mark, let's go straight in with the team news. In fact, before we hit the team news, going into the game, considering the previous result that we had against Man United, it would have been, and that performance, you thought Newcastle had turned the corner, that the performances were coming, the fitness was getting better, and clearly you could see that. And look at the draw. We had recently promoted League One side, who are currently sat 16th in League One.
Not doing very well, are they?
Exactly. Well, they weren't. You go into that game, and personally, for me, this might be me being not necessarily big-headed, but probably being overconfident going that game, despite everything which has happened in Newcastle United before. I'm sitting thinking, I wonder how many goals we can score today.
Well, we'd sat on Monday night talking about the fact that we had the cup game and discussed about whether or not we'd take winning the cup versus being relegated. And thankfully, we don't have that dilemma anymore, do we?
Could be both. Could be both.
God help us. But yeah, I think you're always you're looking to get a relatively easy home tie, aren't you, when the draw's made, just so that you can get your name in the hat for the next round. And when you see you coming up against Cambridge and the sellout crowd and everything like that, you think, oh great, this could be a day out where we'll have a full backing, and they just go and put a performance on and get a result. But
just speaking about the attendance there, I was expecting big numbers because we saw earlier in the week that it was gradually going up and up and up. There was 20,000 sold in the first couple of days, never mind anything else. And you normally get a crowd 25-ish, thereabouts, for a cup game. But you knew for fine well it was going to near on sell out, if not sell out. But the club announced that it was a sell. There was a few pockets.
Yeah, I think it was like 50. I think with the attendance they said 51,000.
It's because there was a big gap between
that gap, wasn't
there was a big gap between the away fans and the
home
fans.
I could see. I was sat in the east stand yesterday, literally bang on the halfway line. So looking across at the Millburn, kind of either say what would be the Platinum Club. There was a little pockets of them empty. Which I found strange based on the fact that you couldn't get tickets online. So I don't know whether those ones are maybe
just no shows,
corporates or no shows or whatever. Maybe they just decided to stay inside and get stuck into the food.
It's remarkable to see. I think if I had been against another Premier League team, then you probably would expect it, that sort of crowd. But then you look at that side and think, oh, it's League One. You're probably going to get fans thinking, oh, we're going to win this game, we'll go and watch it.
Well, I think it was as you just said, like we all took the kids. I always do whenever we have a cup game or a pre-season friendly or something like that. I take the little one because he doesn't get the chance to go otherwise, unless somebody that in our little group can't go and he can come along with us. So I think, looking on my social media and stuff like that, there was loads of people doing that. It was an opportunity to take the kids along to the game.
It's normally the crowd that you see in a cup game. It's normally families, isn't it?
They do well with the pricing, and that's what encourages the families to go. So I mean, I've seen like big groups of like families going with like whole kind of
full generations.
The grandfather, grandmother, parents, brothers, sisters, and like there was some big groups.
It was probably the first chance that people have had since the Mike Ashley's left the club to get a ticket for the game. People that have obviously either decided that they weren't going to go back to St James's Park, gave season tickets up until Mike Ashley had left. And it's probably the first chance that people would have had, because Premier League games have been like gold dust to get a ticket.
Well, that's it. I mean, they've been selling out quickly, but again, it's people that will regularly go that will have been buying those. Whereas I think certainly for the cup games, the early rounds, because I think it would change the later you got on into the competition, and the pre-season friendly, it is the opportunity for people that don't normally get to go to go. And I think that did probably show a little bit in the crowd and the atmosphere as well, because it was noticeably a lot quieter than it has been in the last few weeks. And I think that's because it's people that aren't there regularly, like trying to, get into it and stuff like that. But which was odd, because there was a lot of chants in the streets and stuff before the game, like when we're walking our way up and stuff like that. But
the pubs were rammed as well. We tried to go for dinner with the bins and couldn't get anywhere in a cafe.
You would have thought it was like pre-Christmas, everybody going out doing the shopping and stuff like that, and then go to the match. But again, it was just the sheer volume of people and making a day out of it. And the Cambridge fans, they did the same, to be fair to them. They brought, I think, just over 5,000. And in all honesty,
I think that might be more, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, like they filled it out, and that's probably the most fans and the noisiest fans I've seen this season.
Hell of a lot better than the Man United fans, because they were shite. Yeah, tell you that one. But let's go there. I think we're probably a little bit arrogant going in this game, despite how shit we have been over the last X amount of years.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, last year, yes, we did have a decent cup run, but we had some struggles in there against League One teams as well.
Well, historically, we have, over the years, came a cropper against, like, lower league teams. Like, I remember Stevenage, Oxford, that you've said, the likes of that, where we came up against them. Yeah. So it's one of those things. Like, it's like what we saw when we went down in the Championship. Whenever Newcastle came to town or people were coming to play us, it lifted the game, and you quite often get that in the FA Cup, especially when you
scalps,
do it. It's the giant killer tag, isn't it? And I mean, we've seen a few results like that over the weekend. It's not just us, but
you would think it was. You would think it was, mate. The way the media's going on.
That's the headlines we're gonna always get, isn't it? Now, because of the fact that we're always tagged as the richest club in the world.
I was just about to mention that I saw a Cambridge fan earlier, and the Cambridge fans, to be fair, the majority of them, probably all of them, apart from there's one that I've seen, have been absolutely fantastic, really gracious and things like that. And Newcastle fans the same, have been replying to Cambridge's Twitter feed saying fantastic support, good luck in the future and stuff like that. The one I saw today, just along the lines of little old Cambridge beat the richest club in the world. Give her a chance to be that richest club in the world. That's slightly annoying for me, but I know it's a little dig at like the difference between the football and clubs. But let's go straight to the starting lineup, mate. Very, very strong side.
I was surprised, to be fair. I didn't expect it to be as strong as what it was. I expected kind of more for the fringe players to come in, those that haven't played recently.
Feels a bit of a split down the middle.
Yeah. So obviously Saint starting as well. I thought it was a surprise, and after he was going to be out for 6 months after the last game, which turned out not to be the case.
I thought you would be too busy playing Cluedo, or whatever the hell that board game is.
Right, looking at the 90 minutes. Well, not that he was on 90 minutes, but he probably was in his head for the majority of the time. I'm sure we'll get onto that.
We will. Right, so the start lineup, just to quickly go through it. You have Dubravka in goal, which was a really big shock for me.
Yeah.
I thought one of the other goalkeepers would have got a run out in the cup game.
I thought Darlow would be starting.
Yeah. Darlow wasn't even on the bench. It was Gillespie on the bench.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's maybe
illness.
Maybe.
Fella behind me kept on slagging Dubravka off, but called him Darlow. So I'm not sure what he thought.
Whether he thought it was Darlow in goal rather than
kept
Dubravka.
On shouting Darlow. But clearly wasn't Darlow in goal. So yeah, Dubravka in goal. You had Kieran Trippier's Newcastle United debut.
Yep.
You have Emil Kraft there, Fabian Schär, Matt Ritchie, who was captain.
Mm-hmm.
You had John Joe Shelby, Sean Longstaff, Jacob Murphy, Joe Linton, Ryan Fraser, and Alan St. Maximin in there. So if we're playing games on paper, which I know isn't the case, that team should be going out there and running wild against a lower League One football inside.
You look at it on, as you say, on paper, and look at the strength of the team that you've got and the names that are on there, and you certainly expect them to be able to, as you say, beat a team that's struggling down the bottom of League One. But they, to be fair to them, they played, out of the skins. They really took the game to them because they were fully motivated for it. I didn't see the same motivation from our players as I did from the Cambridge lads. They really seemed up for it, wanted to scrap and battle for everything. And whether or not that, that same mentality got into our players around, oh, well, it's only Cambridge, we've only got to, turn up and we'll beat them. There seemed to be a few body languages that way from me, where it was a going through the motions, and we should have enough.
If we're being honest, though, just touching on the first half, it wasn't the lack of chances created.
No,
it was the end product, and not necessarily even the end product. The fact that there was nobody there. I think it was Luke Edwards yesterday that said throughout that game there was 36 crosses into the box. Yeah. How many of those can you remember?
I think we had 9 shots on target as well, if I remember right, and something like 27 shots on in total. So I mean, we created chances. There wasn't anywhere there to stick them away, and I think the lack of having a striker on the pitch just shows. It showed in a couple of games when we did the same and we played Saint up front. I think it was Liverpool when we played him up front.
Yeah, decent game against Everton when he was up. Not against Man United when he was up top by himself. But other than that, when we have so Saint, he just drops deep and deep and deep for the ball. So you're left without a striker, and you're relying on the likes of Fraser and Murphy to push on. Yeah,
and to be fair to those two, again, first half they did. They got forward well. Trippier and Richie were linking up well with Fraser and Murphy on the wings, and they were causing problems getting up and down. Like Fraser started on the right and Murphy across on the left. And we, like you say, we were taking the game to them, but it wasn't. There was like a few, I wouldn't say like clear-cut chances, but where we tested the keeper. The keeper did, in fairness to him, and you seen from the reaction at full time from him and from the team, he had a blinder. He pulled off some great saves, but there wasn't any like real clear-cut chances where you threw or something like that. It was like, I think Murphy had a one that was from distance, we had a couple of scrappy ones in the box. Second half, Joe had a great header opportunity, which was probably the best save of the game, but again, looking at it on paper and looking at the stats and watching that first half, on another day, you could have quite easily went in at half-time 3-4-0 up. But how often have we sat here and said that? It's that the lack of the clinical action that has really done us this season.
Josh has said, says he was at the game yesterday and it was embarrassing. Completely agree with you. How got it technically wrong? Constant cross into the box, what we've just been mentioned there, and we didn't have a striker up front. Baffled me. Gale should have started. Was Gale on the bench?
Gale wasn't on the bench. He wasn't even in the squad.
So apparently Gale and Kieran Clark were... So Lascelles, Clark and Gale were apparently supposed to be included in the squad in some way.
Yeah.
But because of an illness, they were missing it. I don't think it's COVID related.
Well, there was rumours about Gale about being COVID, so that I'd seen yesterday. But
Kieran Clark definitely isn't, because there's a photo of Kieran Clark at the ground.
Well, whether or not when he's got there and then got some results or something like that, but I would have expected they would have to do them.
No, there's photo like with fans afterwards. He's got in one of the boxes.
Yeah, he's in one of the boxes, and
him and Longstaff.
Yeah, I remember that now. But that lack of having a striker is just critical for us. I mean, we talked about the fact that with Wilson being out, that's been now confirmed that it'll be 8 weeks that he's out.
We were all expecting Elliot Anderson to get a chance, weren't we?
I did. I thought so. Again, with him being on the cover of the programme and stuff like that, and getting talked up kind of during the week.
It's a bit of a strange one to stick him on the front of the programme.
And then not play him.
Yeah.
So, I know, I mean, for me...
Saying that, looking at my way of thinking there is absolutely ridiculous, because the person designing the cover isn't going to go, Eddie, I've put him on the front of the cover, he's going to have to start.
Yes, but maybe they just thought, again, along the lines of us, of that you're expecting your fringe players to be involved in the game, and that's why they've done it. But I don't know whether they'd kind of got an inkling that he might have been involved. I don't know, but yeah, I certainly expected the same. I thought Gale would start, but once he's not named, then it did come as a surprise to us.
Same bloke that was sat behind us that kept on shouting about Darlow, who wasn't featured. Also kept on shouting about Gale, saying, "Why are you not bringing Gale on?" It's not there,
So
mate.
this fella clearly hadn't looked at the team sheet
Well,
or the team news.
Well, like I said, I took the two boys. I took Nolan and Denver, and Denver is 5 now. And Denver started getting a bit bored. I would probably say around about the 60th minute thereabouts. Dad, can we go now? I said, just wait. Like something might happen. I wish we had left then, but we didn't. But when we got out the ground and we were on the metro on the way home, and the metro cleared up a little bit, he just went, I went, Denver, do you enjoy it? He went, yeah, but that man behind us was really annoying me. Like, just because he was one of those blokes that doesn't shut up throughout the game. And like, Denver kept on turning around, just staring at him like that. He's like a Scottish bloke. And I thought, he kept on swearing as well. And like, Nolan, the older one's like, keep on smiling every time he starts swearing. I thought, honestly, lads, like, you better get used to this, because you always sat behind somebody that's a bit of a gobshite.
Normally, I'm sat next to one, to be fair. But it's you just expect to have somebody up front, and you know, for the qualities that Saint Maximum's got, you know, running the front line, being able to pressure from the front, which is what we've done so well over the last, you know, couple of months since House came in, was just completely missing from that. And I do, as we said, somebody said there, I think Josh, that you said, I think how did get it wrong with the way he set the team up, and I'd also question his substitutions in the second half as well. And I'm not saying that I don't want Howard at the club, because I've seen some strange old comments on Twitter over the weekend about, you know, questioning the manager. He's still the man for me, but he's not above criticism.
I think this is what people are getting confused at, the fact that he's not beyond criticism, and there were things that were wrong in that game.
Yeah,
100%. And just because as a fan of this football club, you call something out, it doesn't mean you turn on Eddie Howe.
No,
it's far from that. Yes, I was hoping for huge improvement from Bruce, but we saw a bit of an improvement. Yeah. Not obviously tons and tons, but give him, they've got no other choice really. You give him this transfer window, you give him the rest of the season, see where we are.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the second half in particular just showed, and it's probably a good thing that the chairman was there. He chose to come back and see the game yesterday as well, because him looking at that versus, because I think he's only been to that in the Spurs game. Is he going to have seen any of the improvement that has been made during that short time from looking at that first game to that game? Probably not. So
that's pretty good back over.
Well, that's it. So it maybe that'll just help with the investment side of things and be able to move us forward.
Do you think it will? Do you think he'll look at that? And obviously he's the big guy here. He's the chairman of the football club. And apparently he's staying in Newcastle for a couple of days. Do you think he would have looked at that and thought, this is worse than what we thought? And it's going to force him to
I think
go that extra mile now.
I think he'd probably be all right with the first half, because as we've said, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't terrible. We did create chances, moments of it, but they were equally in the game. But then the second half, we just didn't show up. And the substitutions, as I just mentioned there, compounded that for me. And it made us even worse from that point.
Well, we'll go through a couple of players, because one of the players who's coming under a lot of criticism is Saint Maximum. Saint Maximum, and I know I had the joke about the board game, which he keeps on promoting. That doesn't bother us. Most players have things outside of it, and if that's what he wants to do outside of football, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
The thing for me is that we've got a player that is doing step overs when there's nobody near him.
It's the most frustrating thing for me yesterday with him was that every time the ball went to him, if he couldn't run at somebody and take them over, he would stop. He would then start doing step overs and then come back and stuff like that. It slowed our game down so much. It almost brought to a standstill on the edge of the box. Whereas normally, when we see him in positions where he normally plays, if he's more out on the left or that little bit deeper, he has that more opportunity to run at them and drive through. I didn't see him driving into the box. Yes, he dribbled it in a couple of times, but it was after stopping the defender and then trying to get past him with little tricks and stuff like that. He was very frustrating for me yesterday. His work rate wasn't there, which that's something that is questioned about him. He wasn't doing any closing down. He wasn't putting any pressure on the central defenders when they were in possession of the ball. And I think that's what we needed, and we've done well over the previous weeks is not allowing the opposition to have the ball and just be comfortable on it and stuff like that. We're constantly closing down. We're being aggressive. We're being fast into them, and that was missing from the front line with having him up there by himself, and also in midfield as well. I think like we've again sat here and talked about Sean Longstaff in the last couple of weeks, that he seems to be improving and getting better. But
mate, that was one of the worst performances I've seen from Sean Longstaff. Absolutely,
he couldn't find a black and white shirt, could he?
Shocking. Honestly, I got more and more frustrated, and I'm sat watching that thinking we should have accepted that bid for £1 million.
It was worrying that he again, whether or not his head's just not right at the moment because of this speculation, whether he's expecting to be sold, whether he's thinking his future's not here or what. But again, if you're watching him based on that performance, thinking, oh, we might have a bid on it, that's not going to encourage you to put any kind of a bid on the table or something like that.
Everton fans watching that must be worried if they do get him.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was just a strange old performance for him. Like I say, he couldn't find a black and white shirt. He burst forward a couple of times and actually linked up getting forward well, but everything kind of around that was just falling to bits. The amount of times he just passed it straight out of play.
Yeah. Just to touch on St. Maximin, just go back over a great comment by Mark Ritchie there that says Alan St. Maximin beat himself more than the defenders yesterday. Too many unnecessary tricks and disguised passes.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron even said to me at the match, he was like, why does he shoot when he should pass and pass when he should shoot? And I'm like, you tell me, son. I wonder that every bloody game, because there was so many times where when he was running in and stuff like that, and he could have just cut inside and expect him to unleash one, and he wouldn't. He'd hold on to it too long, or he'd turn back on himself, or stop dead and then look to pass it and stuff like that. I can only really remember him having one good shot in the first half where he came in from the left, which is we all know that's where he does the most damage. He was out on the left, he came inside, came across the front of the box, and he rifled one across to the keeper's left-hand side, and the keeper did make a good save. I know it was at a good height for the keeper, but he's testing them. Other than that, I can't remember a shot that he had. Yeah.
Well, just to mention this, let's see if I can get it back up there, because we touched on this on the podcast last Monday on the Always Smiling Faces podcast. Bruce Scott says, I think we need to start also looking at a new goalkeeper in the summer. Something else where Dubravka's came under a lot of criticism over the last few weeks, I would say now. For me, once again, yes, he's got a mistake in him. Of course he does. Every single goalkeeper in the land has got a mistake in them. You're in a team, and you have been in a team since probably the very first minute that you walked into the club. You're getting the most shots out of any other football club in the Premier League. There's going to be more mistakes in there. For me, I'm on the same principle that I was on Monday night, where we bide with time with Dubravka, replace those in front of him, then see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you can see he's low on confidence. I don't think he definitely hasn't been the same player, since coming back from his injury that we'd seen, in the last couple of seasons. He didn't have the greatest of Euros in the summer either.
It's been since the injury.
Yeah, and I know obviously the goal he's came under a lot of criticism for that, because he kind of spills it, loses it between his leg. I think it's the way that he goes down at first. His knee gets caught in the turf, and it looks like he twists his knee, but then he seemed to be hobbling on his ankle after, because he got a lot of treatment kind of after the goal.
When he went up for the last corner, he was hobbling on the way up to the...
Yeah. Well, I honestly, and Gillespie was the same, thought he was coming off, because Gillespie had warmed up and he got stripped, and he was there ready,
catching the ball,
ready to come on. Got his top on, his gloves on, the whole lot. because Dubravka, 5-10 minutes after that goal, he's still kind of hobbling around, but he kept going through it. But it's just a sloppy goal. The way he makes the first save and then it squirms underneath him, and then for me he's just very slow in turning around. Whether I don't know whether he's lost his bearings or something like that, or whether it is just a bit of lethargy of turning around to try and pick it up. But their player's much faster to the ball, straight onto it, sniffing at it. He pokes it, it gets cleared away off somebody, and then drops.
Fabian Schär, and that clearance is absolutely horrific. He just nods it straight back on the edge of the 5-yard box.
Yeah, so just comes straight back at you, and then Ironside standing there completely unmarked and
just hits it
and sticks it in, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, and then obviously there was a little bit of
so when they got that goal,
the VAR as well, wasn't it?
So when that goal went to VAR, and VAR was used quite a lot during the game. We had 2 goals ruled off for offside. Yeah. I think did they get
rightly offside?
Obviously, they had the penalty shout as well. I thought that was a penalty.
I was just going to say, what did you think?
In the ground, I thought that's a penalty all day long.
It was a penalty. I
haven't seen it back.
Well, I watched it on this morning on Match of the Day, and I still think it's a penalty.
Either way,
even watching that, I don't understand why we get a free kick. Richie. The player just comes in from behind him and gets goal side of him, and the kind of, I don't know whether
there's a contact outside of the box. There's a lot of people saying either way it was outside.
It does start like that, and there is a bit of hustle and bustle between the pair of them, but then Richie kind of falls on top of their striker. But I just didn't see where free kick to us even came into it at the time, or even, as I say, watching the replay back. Whether I've missed something there, I don't know, but I'd still say that it's a penalty,
even though it was outside the box.
Well, if they're given the initial infringement, that's maybe where they've.
So the VAR decision, which took the longest, was their goal.
I didn't even. Well,
it took a long time.
As we then saw on the replay, it was marginal, wasn't it? It didn't look off,
like I say,
offside.
I still haven't seen it.
It didn't look offside to me at the time. When you see the freeze frame, it's tight, but he probably is just offside. However, when the ball gets played through, Shelvey sticks his leg out, and it comes off Shelvey's toe, and then goes through to them for that first shot. So that's why they're then saying it's a separate phase of play. So he's onside.
It took a long time for that decision. It really, really did. And I thought the longer this is going on, I thought that's going to get ruled out.
Aye. Well, I was, as I say, I was surprised at the ground when after they scored and celebrating and stuff, and Dubravka was down injured. The referee was over with him, brought on the physio, and then the announcer actually said, "Oh, VAR check in progress for offside." We're like, "Oh, add on." Yeah.
So Scott puts in there. They were looking to see if Shelvey had touched it or not.
Yeah,
like you just said. So it just touches his toe, does it?
Yeah, it comes off, and like when you see it, it's one of those ones where you think, does it, doesn't it?
But I thought it was a whole case where he had to like control the ball, sort of thing.
Yeah, it like literally goes through, and he dangles his foot out trying to stop the ball going through, and it, maybe it does come off his toe, but it's one of those things. As we just said before, by that point we should have been miles ahead of them.
Yeah,
if we could have taken more chances.
Another player that I want to mention came off the bench, Miggy Almiron.
Yeah,
shocking.
He tried everything he could to get involved in the game, couldn't he?
Ran,
just couldn't.
First touch
couldn't
was
get in it.
Lifting. He was running into players left, right, and centre with the ball. He was poor, really poor for me. And I normally defend Almiron, I really do. And he looked shocking. Yeah, absolutely horrendous.
I do. I like him. I think he brings, although he doesn't bring assists and goals to the team, he brings more to the team with his enthusiasm, his energy, his busyness, and he tried to do that, but it just wasn't working. And it was just one of those games where it just seemed to be infectious throughout the team, of just people not being able to pull together a performance to get out of it. With exception for me for one player, which. And this was again the other decision that I just didn't understand and still can't get my head around was Jacob Murphy. I thought he had a fantastic game. He was very, very busy, involved in everything.
He hit the bar, But I think
I've made 2 good saves from him as well.
Jacob Murphy, though, he just, I think the second half, especially when Saint was dropping deep, he should have been further up.
Well, we changed second half. Saint went out on the left and Murphy went up front. And that actually brought Saint Maximin into the game more. That changed because he was in the position that he should be in. But again, when the Cambridge defence were just dropping off, that's when, you know, somebody with it that's more suited to playing in that role will come and collect the ball and turn and get at them and stuff like that. Draw defenders out of position. What Murphy was doing well when he went up top by himself was allowing a ball in behind and running in with the pace that he had.
Yeah.
That was the goal that he scored that was ruled offside, but he was a mile offside as I say, we could clearly see that. But
I think if we go, there's a lot of players that are going to get replaced in this team. Not necessarily this transfer window, but depending on our situation come the end of the season, there's going to be a hell of a lot of players leave this football club. Do you feel as if, not necessarily Jacob Murphy, but to go back to Almiron, do you think his time's run out now? Do you think he's had enough opportunities?
I don't think he hasn't really had any opportunities this season, has he? He hasn't featured much with the kind of formation that we've gone with in midfield, and obviously Joe dropping into there.
This will be his fourth season.
Yeah,
maybe?
it's going to limit his, you know, the chances that he does get to play, which is why I was surprised he didn't feature from the start.
I'll be surprised if we keep a hold of Almiron. I really do, and I'll be even more surprised if he stays in England.
Yeah. No, I think with the changes that we're looking to make, the way that we're setting up, it's the formation that we currently play doesn't suit him. He needs to be in behind somebody or on that left hand side, and he's not going to get the.
It's going to be a canny loss as well that you're going to lose on him. 25 million it was touted, wasn't it? That was spent on Almiron. We're going to take a canny hit on him, like
probably.
He just came over as a goal scorer for the MLS and struggled to find the goal in the Premier League.
I think again he had a good relationship with Martinez there, so the pair of them kind of fed off each other and you know made and created stuff for each other, which is why the pair of them scored a lot of goals, because they had that relationship. I could see him going to somewhere like Spain or something like that and being very, very good, because you know it's a little bit of a slower tempo to the game. He'll have more space. He'll have more of that opportunity to do what he's good at, of running in behind, running the players, and that link up.
One of the other players I want to mention who was just as bad, Joe Willock. I couldn't find a pass.
I don't know what
shot
happened
at the end.
Oh, I was at the death as well, wasn't it?
Goes into Rose Ed, the back of the Gallowgate. What has happened to this kid?
I don't know.
Get it's a different position, but Jesus, like we were pissing and moaning about the difference between Kennedy the second season that he arrived.
Yeah,
this could be worse.
Good way, because we've paid money from him. We've paid the 25 million, but again, I didn't expect to have a season from him like we got last year with all of the goals and stuff like that when we had them. But I expected to see more of a player from him than I am at the minute. Again, I don't know what it is, whether he's feeling a bit homesick. Obviously, the fact that he's moved away from his family and came up here at a young age and stuff like that, or what was he when he came? Was he, you know, playing for a future, thinking he still had one at Arsenal, and you know, now that dream's gone, he's kind of again regressed a little bit in himself. But it's worrying that he seems to have gone, you know, backwards quite quickly, in as much the same way as Longstaff has, etc. But we know there's a player in there, and I expected coming on later into the game to see some of those runs, him arriving late to the box, getting in, arriving for some of those crosses and stuff like that. But he didn't.
Well, that opportunity that he had was ideal for him. You think you're hitting the target at least. At least
is that a confidence thing with him? You know,
but
whereas last season,
case, it's going to be a confidence thing for every single one of those players on that field.
No, but I mean, like last season, where everything he was touching was going in, wasn't it? Every shot that he had, it was flying in. Where when you've got that confidence of being able to shoot and thinking you're going to score, whereas I'm not having a run of games, not playing great. If
you're going to be picking confidence up, it's against a League One team.
You would expect so. Yeah,
you would hope, and that's worrying for me going into that Watford game next week. low on confidence, Watford will probably be up for the fight.
Well, Watford got a good turning over yesterday as well, like, to be
Yeah.
fair. So, I don't know. It could be one of those games where it's just two very poor teams that battling against each other, or it could be one where if the shackles are off for both of them, we could have a good head game of football. You just don't know what's going to happen. Again, I've lost count of the amount of times I've said these words, but I expect to see a reaction at the weekend coming after that performance. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. I think Howe will demand it after that performance. Again, his comments after the game were a little bit strange for me, around the kind of with him saying that he thought the attitude and performances and stuff like that were...
I think if you look at the full interview though, because I watched the interview back, there's a question, I can't remember who it's from. Might be Chris Watt. No, I can't remember. But that is the question about the attitude of the players and the body language of the players. I think he's led in that question. I'm going to be even more shocked if he turns around and goes, I thought body language was a disgrace.
It was, though.
It was, but I think
he can
in his
answer...
career now at Newcastle United, it's a little bit too early to start throwing these players under the bus.
I don't expect him to say that, but I think he needs to be a little bit more... And he probably... I don't know whether he is doing it to protect these players, but he just needs to be a bit more careful with what he's doing, because it's almost... We've all got eyes in our heads. We all saw that performance. We all saw what the body language was.
If he receives a response from that comment, then you would think that he might change his approach going forward, because shouldn't have been saying it. Shouldn't have, like, if you're looking at a completely different game than what we are, because there was a players on there that I thought didn't give a shit, because they're probably not going to be here for much longer, in my opinion.
And
it looked like a pre-season friendly.
Not that as well. Players that you expect to be here. I thought for the first 20 minutes, Saint just didn't look interested at all. He was ambling around up front by himself, not getting involved in the game. And, you know, that's when you expect him, who's meant to be one of the stars of our team, to be leading by example. And it just wasn't happening. And there was too much of that throughout that team, of people just not seeming to be up for that fight, wanting to go and win it.
To go on a positive. So it was Kieran Trippier's debut.
Yep.
I thought at times Kieran Trippier, if you're looking from the outside in, there's a few passes that are overhit. But in my brain, that's thinking, he's reading this play a hell of a lot better than the rest of these lads are. And I thought that showed that his quality. Similar, it sounds ridiculous. I know how Papi Cisse had this offside thing about him.
Yeah.
He was offside because he was
always
ready.
On the move,
he was on the ball, ready to go, thinking, I'll need this ball right now.
Yeah.
And he was just that little bit faster than everybody else, like brain working. And I thought Kieran Trippier was exactly the same yesterday. A few times where he picks a ball outside the box, and without looking, it's like he's looking elsewhere. Then he passes it around a defender, and our lads just got flat-footed. Like, oh shit, I should have moved.
Well, where I was sat, obviously the first half, I got to see him very, very close up and personal, because he was there in front of us the whole time, and he was excellent. Not just and I know he talked a lot about it in his interview, about what he can kind of bring to the team with his experience and his leadership and stuff like that. I saw more leadership from him in that 90 minutes than I've seen from our captain all season. He was organising, he was talking, he was pointing, he was when we were in position with play and stuff like that, he was ordering like players around him where to go, where to come, and stuff like that. It just shows you the difference in the mentality of somebody that is that good. I probably didn't appreciate, how good he actually is until I sat and watched him for that 90 minutes.
I think another few players alongside him, in front of him, you're going to see that quality.
They'll if you can get people of that stature, that mentality, that level, it'll make a night and day difference to us, because he's like, obviously where he's playing, he's getting Kraft to come across, he's telling Kraft to pull up. He had Fraser in front of him for the first half, he's telling him to come in, he's pointing to him. The midfield guys, he's in there with Shelby and Longstaff, organising them, talking to them. He's been here 5 minutes, and he's telling them how to play.
The thing is, mate, the thing that's really pissed me off is that, yes, you've been, in Newcastle 48 hours, then he gets his debut afterwards. At full time, couple of our players walk down the tunnel, and Kieran Trippier is basically begging them to get back on the field and applause the fans.
To be
and
fair,
one
I
of
was a
those
bit.
is Saint.
I was a bit. I'm a little bit torn with that because to be fair, I sat here the other week and had a go at Saint for doing the very same thing of walking off the pitch. I was a little bit in two minds because at that point I didn't want them to come and clap and come to them because I was pissed off with them. So it's almost like when they come into us, like fuck off, like why are you coming to applauding to us now, kind of thing. But the fact that Trippier on his debut and stuff like that, yes, I applauded him because of, it's thanking him for what he's done. Murphy, again, he does it every week. But
He's always last one.
He was the last one off the pitch, walked around, and he was a substitute. He came back on. I even shouted to him because he was like quite in the area and was like, well played, kind of thing. But it's just my initial reaction was just get off the pitch because it was, as we started off with it was embarrassing. That second half, and
I think though
I felt anger towards them.
I think the players, especially the senior players, are gonna have to appreciate what the fan base has done this season. We have been absolutely horrific on the field, but we haven't turned against those players.
No.
We haven't turned against them. War flags are still there every single week. We're still there doing our part.
Yep.
They have to. They should be appreciating that at every single ounce of their.
Well, I stuck a video that I took from before the game on Twitter of war flags and the Gallowgate end, because obviously where we sit, we don't get to really appreciate it because we're in that normally. So being able to kind of be able to sit and look at it, you can see firsthand how good it looks from there. So I posted on, and there was quite a few comments of people saying like, how can the players not look at that and get motivated? How can they not feel inspired from having that welcome into the ground and wanting to play from those fans? And that's it. Like if you can't be motivated to do that when you're being encouraged that much, then there's a problem there. And
it's a deep-rooted problem, mate. And the problem is that these players have been at this football club for far too long.
There's a lot of them have, yeah. And it's look, and I know obviously Howe's only been here a few months. The owners have only been here a few months. We've got 14, 15 years of neglect to get out of. So yes, I don't expect for it to happen overnight, but I do expect effort and in a bit of a bit of enthusiasm from our players when they're going on that pitch. And that's something that we've always said from even going there and knowing that was shit. There's no excuse for not trying.
Do you feel? I know it hurt yesterday at full time. It was flat as anything, absolutely flat. Do you think it's a blessing in disguise?
It's that old chestnut we can concentrate on the league now, isn't it? We've got no distractions, but then equally having a good run of games, a good result gives you a reaction and gives you a little bit of motivation. I'm hoping that it's maybe because the energy levels just didn't look there for me, whether or not it's people that are fatigued, the fact that we had players coming back in from COVID and stuff like that, whether that's just done it. I mean, Richie went off in the second half. He was blown out of his arse.
We looked very similar to what Man U looked like when we played them when they had 2 weeks off.
Yeah. So it's, we don't know how much impact that's had. We know people that have had COVID have suffered a lot with tiredness, fatigue and stuff like that. There was a lot of that, but it started in the first minute for some of the players. You just hope that another week on the training ground, wanting to put that right, maybe we can have another breakthrough in the transfer market this week, whether that'll spur people
to be fair, I'm not even putting it down anything like that. I'm just putting it down to that Cambridge wanting it more.
100%. You saw it at the end of the game, the reaction from the players. They should have
immediately been kicked out of the competition for doing that Ronaldo celebration afterwards.
That was after. Luckily, I didn't get to see that at the time because we were long gone by that point. But they were celebrating like they'd won the league when the final whistle was blown. It was very telling that all of their players ran to their keeper and were celebrating with him because he was outstanding. The save from Joe's header at the Gallowgate was unbelievable. Unbelievable how that stays out, but that's the difference, isn't it? It's the old cliche, but it's the magic of the cup. It's a lower league team come into a Premier League team and do it that giant killing. And
yeah,
we're unfortunately the victim of it.
So we'll call this one off now. So we are back tomorrow night. Always Smiling Face. Are you here tomorrow night?
I am. Are you here tomorrow night?
I am. I thought you said the other week. I'm sure somebody said they weren't going. I thought it was you. But yeah, we're back tomorrow night for the Always Smiling Face podcast. It'll be me, Mark, Decker, and Bestie there. We think. I haven't even told them yet. So you just think they'll just know now and tell us if they weren't coming, but they don't.
Automatic, isn't it? Monday night.
But yeah, we'll be back on Monday night. We are doing a special recording on Wednesday, I think it is. That one's not going to be live, but that is going to be early access for members.
Oh, who's that with?
Of the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. So we've got a new feature, which is going to be at least once a month, where it'll be mainly myself alongside Ryan Taylor, just to discuss what's going on at the football club.
Is that Ryan Taylor, the journalist?
That's Ryan Taylor, ex-Newcastle United player.
That
Ryan over the wall.
Over the wall, Taylor, yeah.
So he's going to be coming on, like I said, at least once a month. This week, of course, Ryan Taylor's been involved in a few dumpings from cup games, so he'll know exactly
used to it,
what it's like for the players at the minute, and we'll ask him a few questions about that, a few questions about welcoming new lads into the dressing room, especially new lads that are coming in on a higher wage than the rest of them. So we'll discuss that and plenty more. Like I said, if you do want to listen to those, you do have to be a member of the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. It's $3.99 a month or $4.99 a month, I think, at the moment. Come and join everybody. You do get access to the Telegram group as well, where you can interact with everybody else who's a member, which is great crack as well. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and that's us done for the night.